Crossroads and look with your own eyes.
Ask for the ancient paths where the good way lies.
Pick up your feet and walk.
Pick up your feet and walk. You will yet be whole. And you will find rest, you'll find rest for your soul.
They rolled into Colorado with lots of energy, a desire for spiritual renewal, and for many of them an eagerness to reconnect, not only with each other, but also with the Church of the Brethren and its understanding of faith.
Maybe underneath your frown, there's a hope that never dies. Maybe beneath your certainties, you have questions on your mind.
Many in this age group, 18 to 35 years old, had participated in National Youth Conference, but since then had not seen many opportunities to be challenged, nurtured, and connected to the church many of them had grown up in.
We're hoping to bring together young adults. Seems to be a gap from senior highs to the people that do stay around, young adults that do stay around, either have parents that are pastors or grandparents that are in the church, something that keeps them there. And we'd like to start providing this National Young Adult Conference, every 4 years or whatever, to help encourage young adults to stay around if the church wants to continue to support them in their spiritual journey.
It's really hard as young adults to stay connected to local congregations sometimes because they're away from their local churches, at college, jobs, BVS, whatever. And when they come to events like this, it can be a reconnection to the church that helps them invest more deeply than into congregational life as well.
But in June 2004, the Youth Young Adult Office of the Church of the Brethren, with the financial backing of the General Board, gathered more than 250 young adults for a gathering that was to be called NYAC, National Young Adult Conference, a time of rich worship services, lively music, small group sharing times, evening coffee houses, and free time for fellowship, recreation, hiking, even whitewater rafting.
Part of what the steering committee wanted was a space for young adults to have the conversations that they needed to have in the settings that they needed to have. And so we tried to leave a large portion of time for recreation so that those conversations can happen, and also so that people can form community in different ways. It's not all about forming community through worship or eating or theological discussion. Sometimes it's just playing together.
Many of those who attended are in college or just out of college and are experiencing major decisions in their lives about jobs, relationships, questions that make real the theme of the gathering, stand at the crossroads and look, referring to the questions faced by the prophet Jeremiah.
And your hope is welcome at the crossroads.
And although we welcome each other, we realize that this is not about me and you. Rather, it is about you and your God. It is about us and our God.
Hello, my name is Josh Brockway, and I'm a member of the steering committee. Welcome to the crossroads, where your vulnerability is welcome as well.
It is finally about God. It matters that the Spirit breathes in us here. It matters that we drink deep of living water.
My name is Emily Tyler. I'm a member of the steering committee, and your fear is welcome at the Crossroads.
I'm Lahman, also a member of the steering committee, and your dreaming is welcome to the Crossroads.
I'm Laura Stone. I'm a member of the steering committee, and your uncertainty is welcome at the Crossroads.
This morning, I invite you to simply sit back and relax as we look inward to discover who you are, how you are gifted with abilities and passions, and how to begin claiming or reclaiming those gifts.
I remember going into the first worship about 15 minutes before we started, and people were sitting there waiting for the first worship to start. And that was just really a comment on people's readiness to worship and look at their spiritual lives and how they might progress.
This generation, most sociologists are saying, is one of the most spiritually hungry generations that we've seen for 50 to 100 years. And that's so evident as you watch the way these young adults at this conference were seeking. How do they get closer to God? How do they really use their lives in a way that are in harmony with God's intent for them and for the world?
For worship were to explore different ways of worshiping. We tried to use the arts a lot, different forms of expression, music, visual, and our speakers. We tried to get a variety of theological perspectives and backgrounds. We tried to use our young adult steering committee, really give people a different kind of worship than they might find in their everyday church.
I think music is the language that bridges the divine and the earthly.
Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down to the river to pray.
Whenever we stand at the crossroads and ask for the good way, the most effective means to do that, I suggest, is through prayer.
Christ has got to be in you. I mean, it's not just accepting certain propositional truths to be valid. I mean, if we're not looking for intellectual agreement on propositional truths, we're looking for a people who are imbued with Christ.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Nungeda, nungeda, mafia nungeda.
And when music is there, it moves it into a special place. You know, there's magic there. There's inspiration. I think music is one of the most basic necessities of a worship experience.
Where did he go? He went to sleep. He went to sleep.
My strength is not necessarily the silly stuff, but I think silly stuff has a really valuable role in just helping people enjoy themselves and relax and connect with each other. So that was a whole other little genre I wanted to make sure to include, is that kind of song, because, you know, just the smiles on people's faces when they're doing silly songs is often more than when they're singing, a worship song, So just to keep the enjoyment and loosen people up so they can open up more. And
next to me.
Buddy. Okay, Tina's finished one bottle. Jenny's still halfway through her bottle. Adam is going to town. Adam has just finished his first bottle, and he's on his second gallon. Way to go, Adam. Very good, very good. Jenny can't even get it in her mouth.
It probably violates some sort of brethren doctrine for a gathering like this to happen without some way of giving to the community through a service project of some sort. Several dozen young adults spent an afternoon cleaning up beetle-infested brush that threatens healthy trees in nearby forested areas. Others contributed their blood to the local Red Cross and brought hundreds of pairs of shoes to donate as a gift to those who cannot afford footwear in other parts of the world. One of the highlights for many of those in Colorado were times to celebrate old Church of the Brethren ordinances in new ways that took them out of the world of empty ritual and into a living worship experience.
My sisters and my brothers, hallelujah, we sing your praises. All our hearts are filled with gladness. Hallelujah, we sing your praises. All our hearts are filled with gladness. Come to me, all you labor, I will give your soul's rest. Come to me, all you labor, I will give your soul's rest. Hallelujah, we sing your praises. All our hearts are filled with gladness. Hallelujah, we sing your praises. All our hearts are filled with gladness. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
we wanted to have communion be a real celebration. In our planning, we said we want this to be a festive thing. And Becky Ullum had heard the song Hallelujah, We Sing Your Praises, and we just liked that song. It seemed like that would be the perfect song to kind of bring the spirit of joy.
All our hearts are filled with
One of the most meaningful parts of the worship services for many was something called Spirit Time, a time to reflect on what they had just heard or experienced.
Spirit Time was an interesting experiment. A lot of us were planning the conference really find journaling to be a meaningful way of reflection. And so we said, well, let's try it. We'll stick it in there and see what happens. And people responded very well. At least when I looked around, I saw a lot of people writing and drawing, and I really hope that as people return home, they can look at those questions that they wrote down during Spirit Time, the questions that were posed during Spirit Time, and use that as a way to continue the NYAC experience even after we've left Snow Mountain Ranch.
I think the thing that I've most appreciated is being able to talk to other people that share similar struggles and frustrations and joys, and it's not just every place that you have this kind of community and these kind of people that you can sit down and talk to and share that with.
Community groups went really well. It allowed people to kind of break out of their comfort zone with their friends that they had already, meet new people, get new ideas. Also the Padaris were a great time of the week because people were able, again, to hear new ideas.
For me, it's been the dialogue that's been going on. It's been real neat to see people from the total opposite ends on in their faith, on their faith journeys, and just being able to share freely how they feel and feel that it's an open space. It's opened my eyes to many different things and has really gotten me to think a lot about things I need to work on in my life spiritually.
It was just a chance to reconnect with the denomination and to realize that the church has a lot of hope. We're not going to die out because we have all these great, energetic people here. So I think it gives me a good feeling about the Church of the Brethren.
I think it's great they had a conference like this. I think our age group really needed something like this.
It helps those of us who have been to NYC, those of us who haven't. It helps us experience something that we can take back with us and something we can hold on to, and experiences that we need to have so we can connect with people and have that support network that we don't have in our churches right now with other young adults.
Well, I think this has been a wonderful week. It was great to get together and see young adults gather from all over the United States and see that people are involved and want to move the Church of the Brethren forward. We had time to do what we wanted to, but also structured time to meet with each other.
Just to see the energy and the spirit of young people is outstanding. It was a marvelous week together.
I really needed this week just to reconnect with the Church of the Brethren, and since I just graduated from college, the past 4 years since I wasn't going to a Church of the Brethren school, I was really feeling disconnected, and I really needed this week, and I got a lot more out of it than I thought I would, and I knew that would happen after the first evening that we were here. So I really enjoyed the worship services, especially the music. Shawn Kirchner did an awesome job, and it was just so meaningful to worship with people our age instead of just our congregation, and to develop relationships and meet up with old friends we haven't seen in a long time.
This week's been very interesting. It's been very emotional, very deep, but I'm going to walk away with a lot.
This week has been very worthwhile and in a way refreshing spiritually. Sometimes you can get wrapped up in work, especially me, and so this week has been good to get back with friends and worship.
For me, the excitement of having this kind of young adult conference is the potential that this has on leadership development for the church. That it seems to me the kind of young adults who have come to this conference are going to be the future pastors, general board members, district board members, congregational leaders, and for them to come together and be formed and shaped in a way that helps them grow in their Christian faith is a real bonus for our whole denomination, congregations, districts, and denomination.
It's Friday morning at the end of NYAC, and 254 of us are looking for that next circle of light, the next step. You aren't being called to understand the end of the journey, just the next step. You aren't being called to stand up and say, this is how I plan to be the hero or heroine of the faith. Just faithful to the next step.
Crossroads and look with your own eyes. Ask for the ancient paths where the good way lies. Pick up your feet and walk. Pick up your feet and walk. You will yet be whole, and you will find rest. You'll find rest for your soul.
I think it gave this age group a renewed sense of hope for not only our empowerment as young adults, but how we might affect the church. I sense in a lot of young adults our sadness that we're not recognized as a larger part of the church body. And I think that when we came together, we realized our strength and our power and our energy, and it just gave us a new energy, a new enthusiasm for trying to affect the world and our church.
Maybe there's truth beneath your doubt. Seek and ye shall find. Crossroads and look with your own eyes. Ask for the ancient paths where the good way lies. Pick up your feet and walk. Pick up your feet and walk.
But it was so meaningful for me throughout the week to especially during worship, see how people related when small groups came together to pray, to watch people that I knew came from very different places in their spiritual life pray together earnestly, not just to do it because it's the right thing to do. I really appreciated the diversity, the way we were able to involve people with disabilities of various kinds. I just saw God's Spirit breathed in that conference in so many ways that it's really, it was amazing. I would do it again in a minute. It was so worth a year of my life.
You will find rest, you'll find rest for